You're so different now than when we spoke the first time around. I feel like we were both just kids back then.
I know, we were.
Feels like we lived a whole life since then.
It's crazy.
I mean, we have. What's the hardest thing about being you? Welcome back to another episode of the Toothlife.Irene podcast, Peeps, with your peep, Irene, recording live at CDA, full circle episode with Dr. Are you tired of feeling like a contortionist after a long day working in clinical practice? This message is brought to you by our sponsors at Designs for Vision, who are offering you a 45-day free trial of any of their loops. But I strongly encourage you to try their ergonomic loops called Infinity View. Say goodbye to your chin down, neck cranked, poor posture, dental procedure and practice. All you have to do is go to their website, submit a form in order to get your rep to reach out to you, get measured, and get your loops. And then you get 45 days to figure out if you like them or if there's anything that you want to change. Or you can just send them back, but I don't think you will. So buckle up, get ready to rock the Infinity View loops and say hello to a life filled with joy, comfort, and amazing posture. Thank you, Designs for Vision, for creating these beautiful loops. I can't go back to my old ones, ever. Episode with Dr. Matt. How do you pronounce it? I say Asaro, but I don't think it is.
There's no N before the A. It's Asaro.
Asaro. I think I made this mistake the first time around, too.
So people in California pronounce it Asaro.
Yeah?
And then East Coast, like Northeast New York accent would say Asaro. Like
what do you say?
My dad says Asaro. Well, I'm from New York, so I say
Asaro?
Asaro.
All right.
But it doesn't.
Dr. Matt Asaro.
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 Like
Hey, ma che cazzo.
It really doesn't bother me though.
We were here in 2019 when we recorded. We met for the first time here. We were like at the Hugh Freedy booth, I think. We just like borrowed a counter and set up shop. We didn't even have chairs. We were so ghetto. We were just standing around.
Your setup is.
My setup has changed.
Evolved quite a bit.
It's evolved. I mean, there's a cardboard piece of paper in here because they gave me a round table, so I made it square.
Well, I would have never known.
Yeah, just so that my face isn't distorted in the front. But you know, just doing the best with the resources we got.
This is great.
A lot's changed for you. Thank you. A lot's changed for both of us, but a lot's changed for you in the last few years. This was kind of an impromptu. I didn't know that I would see you here episode because normally I did one with Joyce just like a few minutes ago, and I pulled up the notes from our old call, like our old interview, and she's changed a lot, and so have you. I mean, your Instagram's grown, which means a lot has happened in your personal and professional life from 2019.
Yeah, we gotta be growing.
What happened? What's changed? Back then you were a new grad-ish, right? You were like a year or two out? Mm-hmm. 2019, is that right?
Yep.
So you were a couple years out. You were associating somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Probably in Beverly Hills.
In Beverly Hills, yeah. For like a cool practice. Mm-hmm. What else do I remember you telling me? Gosh. What else was going on back then in 2019?
Just like a lot of
learning.
A lot of silly social media antics.
Oh, yeah?
A lot more like I feel like I was having a lot more fun with it then. I would like to get back to that.
I want to. What do you mean? Get back to what happened? I'm scrolling. I'm not being rude. I got his profile open. Well, there's a lot of teeth on your page now. Now I know there's a lot more before and afters that you didn't do before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I used to just kind of have.
Hey,
fun.
you got engaged.
I got engaged.
That happened too. Okay, that's in 2022. We're not there yet. Okay, so you were doing more fun stuff. But what do you think changed? Yeah.
Well, now I'm a practice owner, so I'm wearing the practice owner hat, and it's like
so deeply.
You know, you kind of have to juggle the fine line of, wanting to market yourself to potential patients, but also being authentically, you and also having fun with it. So I think the golden formula is to blend all of those things together, to be yourself, to have fun with it, to enjoy it,
to be professional,
but yet also, market yourself to potential patients.
Yeah. Do you find that you get a lot of potential patients coming in from social? Yeah. From the videos, from the before and afters, what do you like? Do you have a question on your intake forms, like to be super specific of where they come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My coordinators who receive all the phone calls and respond to people who leave inquiries through the
Yeah.
website and stuff, that's the first thing that they tell them or they ask them is, how did you find us?
Yeah.
It's very important to know that.
Sure.
And I would say a very good percentage of the good leads, at least, are from social media.
Yeah. Do you find there's a specific demographic that comes in through social? Like let's see what specific age range or like specific procedure that they're looking for?
Most of my cosmetic cases, I'd say,
Yeah.
come through from social media. But then again, like I would say the majority of the people who are on social media are like not boomers.
Yeah.
But
the opposite of boomer.
Right?
Everyone else.
But then there's been a few, more mature people who their granddaughter
Sure.
or somebody told them about me, and then they called and they're like, I don't really know where she found you from, but she told me to call you.
Yeah.
So it's powerful. I mean, it's more powerful now than it's ever been.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
And it's rapidly changing, so you have to constantly keep up with it.
Yeah, and I mean, for businesses on social media, the algorithm is not really in our favor. I mean, our stuff doesn't perform usually as well unless you're branding it very personal. So, like, your Instagram is super personal with your name in it, but, like, my dental office Instagram account, like Tooth Life Studio, gets, like, no likes, no views, very few, like, a few thousand followers, but it doesn't perform as well as a creator account with more movement in the page. So now I see a lot more like individual clinicians promoting themselves. And then it's interesting when I was talking to someone who's an associate who promotes themselves heavily, who works at multiple practices. And my question was like, cool. So like you bring in patients, which is amazing. Like I have an associate, she brings in some patients, but not many. Most of them come in either organically or through me. So what do you do with those patients? Like, if I leave, I take them somewhere else, or I decide which office I bring them to. That's such a different dynamic.
It's hard.
But as a business owner, I'm like, damn, like that's. I want my associate to bring them to me, not to bring them to the other office that they associate in.
Of course, but I would encourage associates to start their own practice out of another practice before they own a practice.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, which is kind of what that is, right? Like you're bringing in your own clients, you're treating your own clients and patients and bringing them with you wherever you go.
Right, but if you bring them to like the actual practice that you work at as a patient of that practice, then they kind of belong to that practice. True. I guess it also check your contracts because you can't break contracts. But what I was doing, because I never had it any type of, I never really did that. So what I did was I had a very close friend who had a practice, and his practice was a startup, so he wasn't really seeing that many people there.
Yeah.
Like there was days where he had nobody.
Yeah.
So I would just rent a chair from him.
Yeah.
And I would just bring in my own patients like once a week, and then just kind of started it that way.
Yeah, that's smart. And you just paid him like a few $1,000 here and there, whatever that was?
Not even.
Yeah.
Not even. I mean, he was my friend, so maybe it was less than, like, I used to pay him like $500 for the day.
That's cheap.
But he was kind of like, he was trying to get me to not pay him at all, and I was like, no, like, let me at least give you $500 because, he was like, look, I'm not using the chair anyway.
Right. But still, like, you wanted to, it's a business transaction, right?
Right.
Like, let's take friendship off the table for now. There's time for that.
I had a doctor who,
That's smart. That's very kind of you, because there would be others that would for sure just jump on that.
Yeah, I had a doctor who rented a chair from me.
Yeah.
For when I first started my office, when I wasn't using all my chairs, I only have 4 chairs, but when I was really just starting, and it was the same arrangement, and it worked out well. And then 2 years of doing that, and then she ended up getting her own office.
And when they rented the chairs from you, did they also like use your team, your staff? Like
no, so
they had to bring their own bin.
She wanted to bring everything of her own, but once in a while she would like need something, and I was like, just take it, like
sure,
it's
a drop in the bucket,
right? It's all good.
Yeah, that's cool. So you opened your own practice when?
2020.
Oh, same as me. When? What month?
September.
Okay.
August, September. September 1st was the first day.
So mine was August 27th.
Wow.
Yeah, look at us
Look at us.
The worst day of my life.
Stressful,
I cried
right?
that day. I saw my mom and my dad were my first two patients. And then after seeing my dad, I bawled. I was like, we were full PPE. Like we were N95, face shields, gowns, air purification. I had to like close up my operatories with plastic wrap,
Jesus.
basically, because we weren't allowed to operate in an open air clinic.
It's
So
a tough
it was
time.
like
Very tough time.
intense.
But I think both of us made the right move.
Did we?
I think so. Because
Yeah.
it's never.
Or not. Joyce wants to get out of her practice. Who knows, right? She's got a different life.
Yeah, she
But-
also is doing the whole, mom thing.
Yeah.
And seems like a great mother.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I guess everything happens as it's supposed to. So you opened up your own practice. Where is it?
It's in between Fairfax and La Cienega on Wilshire.
I don't know where that is. I'm not from around here. So like all I know is
Where's
like
your practice?
I'm in Toronto, Canada. So like in the downtown core.
Okay. So you're pretty far. You're pretty far from here.
Yeah, I'm across the country. Yeah.
So that's basically Beverly Hills.
Okay. So like in the heart of Fancyland.
It's
How close to Fancyland is
It's
it?
right down the street from Fancyland.
Fancyland to me is like that famous intersection. There's like a little pavement thing that goes up, and there's like all of the beautiful stores. All of the movies are shot there. That's Fancyland to me.
That's Fancyland. Yep.
Yeah.
Right down the street.
Okay, so you're down the street from Fancyland. What does that mean for you and other dentists in your neighborhood? Like, how many other Fancyland dentists are there?
There's a lot. There's a lot. But like, what does it mean for me is nothing really, because I think in my opinion, you have to have the mindset of, I don't have competitors. You need to be doing something different, and you need to create an experience that's different, and you need to create a culture that's different. And one of my close friends / older brother / mentor to me is this guy, Dr. Mataria, and he's like an implant guru, and he kind of taught me this concept. Like, you ever notice that like McDonald's will like open up a location like right across the street from like a Burger King or like a Wendy's? Like they don't care, and it's because they're like, look, we are what we are, and we're not really worried about what they're doing. So that's kind of the mindset you have to have, in my opinion. Especially
That's so cool.
if you're going to be in, the super saturated competitive area that I'm in.
Yeah, I think we should just call it Fancyland.
Fancy. La La
It
Land.
sounds so much cooler.
You know where they filmed the Emma Stone dancing in La La Land?
Yeah.
The lights,
Yeah.
those Fancyland lights?
Yeah.
That's like right next to my office.
No way. That's cool. That's very cool. You know what they filmed down the street from me? The crime scene that happened. Just kidding. That was a joke.
There's a lot of
Kind of.
there's
but
a
not
lot
really.
of there's a lot of crime.
Yeah.
where
No,
we
I know.
are,
That
too.
was just a bad. There's no filming happening in my neighborhood. I'm in like a super it's called the Beaches, the North Beaches. It's like very, very family focused neighborhood.
Nice.
No fanciness. But I find it interesting that you said that, that you've learned in a very relatively short period of time that like competition is in your own head kind of thing. Did you always feel that way, or is that?
No. I mean, I think like we as humans are innately kind of wired to be like looking and comparing ourselves to others. So I think you have to like take an active approach to stop that, and it's definitely something I think you have to like kind of train your mind to do, and it's like a never-ending practice to always remember. But yeah, I this is the way I see it. Like, the Kobe like Mamba mentality, where he's like, I'm just gonna obliterate every opponent, and it's like kind of like this no mercy, like I'm the greatest, like I'll squash anybody type.
Tiger Woods mentality,
Yep.
also. Yeah.
So those are
The greats.
Those are right, the greats. Those are killer mentalities to have, but those are sports. So that's a zero-sum game. Whereas with what we're doing, it's not like that. It's not a zero-sum game. In that, in those sports, if your opponent wins, you lose. But in what we do, there's basically an infinite number of people, right? For all intents and purposes, there is. I mean, there's
More teeth than we can all see.
millions of people, and there's not that many of us. And so when your quote unquote competitor is seeing a lot of people and doing a lot of cases, it doesn't in any way diminish the number of cases that you can do. So in my opinion, it shouldn't be looked at like that. You should be, if anything, admiring other people's success, as opposed to hating on them for it or thinking to yourself, they should have came to me.
That scarcity mindset kind of kicks in.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. So this is funny because I learned this lesson the hard way. I opened in August of 2020, and 3 months later, there's a coffee shop across the street, like right literally across the intersection. I'm right at the corner of a 4 intersection, whatever. You know what an intersection is. I don't have to mansplain it. So my private office is overlooking this, little mom and pop coffee shop across the street.
That's cool.
And it was, this like older dude just like making grilled cheese sandwiches for people in the neighborhood. Like, it wasn't a fancy coffee shop. It was kind of like the hole in the wall. And a fancier coffee shop opened down, a couple of doors open, called Morning Parade. And they make the $5 drinks instead of this guy's like drip coffee. So he shuts down. So he shuts down his doors, and he owns the building. So he rents out the space, rents out the upstairs, and then puts a for rent sign in the front of the coffee shop. And a couple of days later, it gets, the for rent sign goes down, and a coming soon dental office sign goes up. And now this is a tiny space, like half the size of my space. It's an old building, like needs a big facelift for it to be anything miraculous. And my office is beautiful, like startup, right? Like pure build from concrete. Everything's really nice. I'm biased, of course. Like, this is just me talking about my first child.
I'm sure it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And I'm envisioning like what's going on across the street. So for months, I'm just like waiting for this doomsday of the opening of this office across the street from me. And it's this like terrible looking thing from the outside, the dude biting into an apple, artwork on the windows, like generic stock photos with the peeling letters within the next 6 months. And then the advertisements go up in the windows, $99 cleanings and free whitening with every new patient or whatever it is, like those stacked in the windows. And my office has none of that. Like, it says Tooth Life Studio. It's got some clean artwork, and that's it. A phone number and an email and a whatever, like Instagram handle. You know what that did for me? The best thing ever. And I didn't realize it. They were taking the people that I didn't want. I didn't want the I don't know what a $99 cleaning is, nor do I want to know what it is. But it alleviated a lot of stress for me. But for the better part of a year, I would wake up in the morning and I would see that window and I would be like devastated. I would cry. I would be in tears crying that how could someone do that to me? How can they take this space across the street from me? And it was all about me. Like, they did this to me, but they didn't do it to me. In the end, they did it for me, which was very helpful.
That's a great mindset.
The worst lesson I've ever had to learn, though, was a year-long lesson.
But you're glad you did. I
think I am. And I'm impressed that you learned that lesson without having to actually learn the lesson. It just kind of happened.
It's like, it's all about like the environment you're in, people like having mentors, people who you surround yourself with, and it doesn't just happen from you thinking happy thoughts, right? You have to seek it out. So I'm a huge reader. I love to read.
What do you read?
I read books.
Like what kind of books?
And on my Kindle. I love my Kindle.
Okay. What kind of books do you read? Like self books?
I read mostly like nonfiction, but I do read some fiction books.
What are you reading now?
This book I'm reading now is called Beneath the Starlit Sky. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it.
What's it about?
It's about World War II. It's based in Italy, so it's about what happened in Italy during World War II. So I'm like 15% through it. So that's what I'm reading right now. But I'm also I kind of like skip between books. I don't read one book cover to cover. I'll open a book up to a random spot and then read and then put it down. And
that's cool. I usually have 2 going at a time. I need a fiction for evening, like a bedtime book.
Nice.
I have to read a book to get to bed. I'm that old.
That's how my mom is. It's how like my best friend is.
You'll
like,
get there. You'll get there too.
Just wait.
You'll get there. Just wait. It'll happen. I never thought that I would be that person, but I am now that person. And then I've got the like for business book. And I'm always reading Tools of Titans.
Nice.
It's this constant book.
I love that book.
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss.
And I feel like I always go back to it because it's if you've never read it, for those that are watching or listening, like it's not like you don't read a cover to cover kind of thing unless you're kind of psychopathic, then maybe you do. But it's like, you fiddle through it to find something that helps you answer a question or a situation or scenario of something in your life at that moment. So I always go back to that. If there's like a situation that I was like, I don't know if I handled this the right way, like who did Tim talk to that did it right? I think that's really
that book
powerful.
is amazing. Getting
I
the hard.
have the hardcover.
Yeah, you
just
got
sits on my coffee
It's
table.
a perfect book to just flip to a page
Yeah.
and just read like a small little chapter.
Yeah. You're so different now than when we spoke the first time around. I feel like we were both just kids back then.
I know, we were.
Feels like we lived a whole life since then.
It's crazy.
I mean, we have. What's the hardest thing about being you?
Hardest thing about being me? Probably like managing the balance between like proud of myself, but yet like hungry for more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And also just staying mentally healthy, like thankfully I haven't suffered from like very much like mental illness, but it's just being a dentist is like tough, it's so hard, like in the sense that it's draining and like it can be sometimes isolating, especially if you're a solo practitioner.
Yep.
So I think it's important to take care of yourself and have self-care and be involved with other dentists, like even like coming to this and just interacting with other dentists. I think
community.
It's good because it's like these are the only people who can really relate.
That is hard.
What about you? What's the hardest thing for you about being you?
Oof. I am the hardest thing about being me.
Is it editing the podcast?
No, I don't do any of that anymore.
Oh.
The hardest thing about being me would be, I never know when to be proud of myself or like live in the moment, but I think it is my feeling that I don't do enough in the day.
I hate that.
Although I do more in one day than most people do in a week. But it's this constant hunger for efficiency and systemization and organization. It's like I'm always looking for like the next Trello board or the next spreadsheet template
to, like,
or
check.
to make things faster, efficient. And that happens in dentistry too. Like what products can I use to make things faster? Like what bulk fill is the best bulk fill? What curing light can cure faster than the other curing light? I'm always looking for this like step up.
I feel you.
That I never get to sometimes. And when I don't get to it, I'm like super frustrated with myself.
But also, especially in dentistry, like sometimes faster is not always better.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, because some of these
the slow roll.
Some of these lights,
Yeah.
that's just like an example, but
Sure.
some of these lights that like are like, 2-second
The
curing,
quick polymerization, yeah.
it's too much, it's too strong, so like
Right.
it'll cause more shrinkage.
Sure.
So that's
You need a good ramp. Do you want to do some tough questions with me from my toolkit?
Sure.
All right, let's do 3. Pick one. We're going to do 3, but pick one. You got to read it out loud. Take it. What does it
If you
say?
knew you only had 1 year to live, what would you spend the next 12 months doing?
Let's see that card. Show me that card. Oh, all right. That's somber.
That's a really tough one. It's a great question, though. So I think it would involve a lot of travel with family, probably.
Yeah.
Probably be like checking off some bucket list travel destinations.
Like what? Where would you go?
Probably go to.
We keep these cards, though.
Oh.
He's just like angrily scrunching it.
So I'd probably go to Africa, New Zealand, Australia, India.
Yeah.
And
would you like not have a permanent address? You would just like pack a bag and just.
I'd say for like 4 of the 12 months.
Assuming that all of the 12 months you're like able to travel.
Right.
There's like a day.
Well, this question doesn't say.
Sure. Right.
Assuming I'm healthy.
Right. Assuming you're healthy for those 12 months.
I would take maybe like me and like
some friends.
Like 8 people.
Yeah.
And then do that for like maybe 4 months. And then
Just like sell your practice and just blow it all.
I don't know. I don't even know if I would care about selling it because it's, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be here.
Who knows?
But I guess I don't have kids either. So I guess that's a very tough question. Very tough question.
I would do the same.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have a permanent address. I'd probably like backpack it. I've always wanted to backpack. I don't know what that means.
I did that.
Did you?
Kind of, yeah.
Where?
In Southeast Asia.
For how long?
For a month.
That's cool.
For a month after dental school.
Like hostels and stuff? Like
Yep.
that whole, like low, cheap hostels or like medium, high hostels?
Like low,
Like-
cheap hostels.
Like $3 a day kind of hostels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like sleeping in a room with
like 20 people?
Yep. Yep. So me and 2 of my classmates from NYU,
Yeah.
we did that in Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, and China. And that was cool. That was very cool. One of the guys I was with met his now wife backpacking.
That's cool. All right, number 2. Do it up.
Oh, you made these?
No, I bought them.
In what respects are you still the same person you were as a child? Ooh,
Oh.
I love that. I love that. I'm very silly.
Okay.
I'm very inquisitive.
Yeah.
I ask a ton of questions.
Okay. I want to take a photo of you holding that one too. I want to remember who gets what questions. At the end of the year, I'm just going to make a video of like all of the questions.
You should. These are great
I'm going
questions. It'd be cool if you like branded these like with your logo.
That would be
And you-
stealing. That would be theft.
Well, maybe it could be a collab.
Maybe a collab, yeah.
So that's
So you're
it.
silly?
I'm silly.
What is like your like the silly thing that you do that
I'm just
like
I'm just a goofball. Like
Yeah.
I'm like a big movie quoter.
yeah,
So like if you hang out with me,
everything is a movie quote?
I'm like constantly quoting like Austin Powers and like.
Did you see Austin Powers here? There was an
No.
Austin Powers impersonator right over there.
What?
Yeah, that's cool.
I would've
I'm
loved to see
I'm
him.
I'm gonna answer this question for you with one photo. I'm trying to find this photo of me. I use it in one of my presentations, and it's me as a small child, sitting at a desk, holding. Let's see if I write "child" in my Google Images.
Wow. If it comes up, that would be awesome.
Probably will. All kid photos pop up. I'm sitting at a desk. I've got all of my pencils are sharpened. All of my like little toys and boats and things are all in a row. I'm like the most organized kid on the planet, according to my mother. And here it is. I'm still this person so very much.
Aw,
Isn't that so funny?
that is so funny.
That orderly life.
Everything's like nice
Like
and neat.
perfect. I'm obsessed with organization.
That's great. I could definitely use some more organization.
It's a curse too, though.
If it's I hear you. If it's not.
It's like yeah. If one thing is not in the right spot, it's a problem. Some days. Last card.
Be kind to yourself.
We can do it.
Oh,
I'm working on
That's
it.
a good one.
Uh-oh.
When did you last feel desperate? When did I last feel desperate?
Wow.
That's a tough one. I don't know if I've ever felt desperate. Desperate.
Desperate.
That's a really good question. I don't know if I've ever felt.
Let's define what desperate means to us first. So meaning you want something so much but it's not in your control to have it. That's what it means when I say that word to me. That's what it means to me. Like wanting something so much that you're willing to go to any length to get it. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. Like being desperate for something doesn't have to have this negative connotation. I think we're making it seem like it is. Like it's this, you're angry or scorned. But to me at least, it means that I just want something so bad.
That's a tough one. I can't think of a time that I've ever felt.
I think I'm currently desperate for
Really?
something.
Really?
Yeah. So a year ago, I went back to school and I became a restorative dental hygienist, which means that I can do everything except prep a tooth. And I have an associate in my practice who does all of our dentistry. And I've been able to like slowly incorporate restorative into my everyday practice, but not like to the extent that I envisioned it. Like, I left a super huge producing practice to open my own practice. Like 5 docs. She was a Kois mentor.
I love
Six restorative hygienists, all just pumping out restorative. So I saw these crazy restorative cases coming out of restorative hygiene. I was like, I want to do that. And when I open my own practice, I'm going to do it myself. So I was so desperate to do this restorative case. Like, I'm currently working on it with the 3M Filtech Matrix. Like, I'm doing a Filtech Matrix case for the first time, that I'm doing it for free.
Nice.
Because I just am so desperate to include more cosmetic dentistry into my everyday practice.
Nice. Very
so
nice.
I'm currently desperate, but
okay, so
it's not a bad, I don't think that it's a bad desperate. I think it's like I'm working towards something, but I know that I just like want that so badly.
Yeah, well, I didn't think of it like that. I would say in the very, very beginning, I'm talking like first year out of dental school, maybe second year out of dental school, I was doing cosmetic cases for cost and making $0. And so I was desperate to get the reps in and the experience, because that's the only way to get good. And so, yeah, those days are long gone, thank God. But
you gotta do what you
do
gotta
what
do,
you gotta
right?
do. So yeah, that's a great way to think about it.
That's a good way to end it. What do you think?
Yeah,
Yeah?
this was so fun. Thank you
Cool.
for having me.
Thanks for being back.
Yeah.
So we'll meet you here in 3 years?
see you in 3
23,
years.
19, 20, 22. Yeah, I'll see you here in 3 years. What year
4
was that?
years.
4 years. Shoot, what year will that be? What year is it now?
2027.
What birthday is it? Wow. Okay, so we'll see you in 2027. You'll probably have a kid.
Probably.
I'll bring another poodle. I'll have two dogs instead of just one.
Amazing.
And so thank you for recording with me. This was fun.
Of course.
Peace out, peeps.
Peace.
Whoa.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.